It's 1970 and autumn in New York City. It's 2 hours after sunset and the city is busy as usual. People hurrying home to start their Friday night routines. But there's two people among the crowd of New Yorkers that have a different agenda. Two people burdened with the responsibility to protect the city from the hidden population of vampires. These vampires threaten the citizens of Manhattan and the surrounding boroughs. One of them is Bernard Crowley, a 35-year-old man and a self-proclaimed vampire hunter. He also has a sacred duty to protect and guide the chosen one. The other person is Nicki Wood. She's a vampire slayer, the chosen one. She alone has the strength to come against the forces of evil. You see, Nicki is part of an ancient magical lineage. The power of strength, agility, and intuition is bestowed upon a young girl. At the age of 16, the young girl's power is awakened, and she is divinely guided to her watcher. A watcher is someone who trains the vampire slayer in her lineage and responsibilities. A year or so earlier, Nicki had lost her parents on the night of her 16th birthday. Mr. Crowley was present that night and helped Nicki defend against the vampires, but not before her parents fell victim to the ambush. It could be chance, but it's possible it was a hit on the future slayer and her family by a well-known vampire named LeBlanc. Right now, Crowley and his slayer are en route to a nest of vampires hidden in an abandoned subway tunnel. Crowley and his girlfriend Vanessa have been tracking the vamps that killed Nicki's parents ever since. They never told Nicki, but her training has been pretty much their attempts to track LeBlanc down. Vanessa worked at a family-owned mortuary, but also helped Crowley track down suspicious vampire activity around the city when she could. Even before Crowley met Nicki, he was considered the top vampire hunter in the Northeast. Stay close. It's not too much further. You okay? Crowley says. I'm good. I was just hoping we got home in time for the Brady Bunch, Nicki says. Wait, we're on the way to kill the vamp that... Crowley says, stopping abruptly. That what? Nicki says. Never mind. There, he says, spotting the blocked-off subway entrance. The two stealthily move down the entrance and into a dimly lit abandoned subway station. Crowley and his slayer move down onto the tracks and down the tunnel. Be careful, Crowley says. These lines still may be live. Nicki looks around and treads carefully. I don't know how you guys managed to find this, Nicki says. I've spoiled you. I'll start teaching you to track more efficiently as well, Crowley says. Nicki looks at him curiously. Well, sometimes it seems like you have it in for this guy. Or at the very least, know him, Nicki says. At the very least, Crowley says. You sound like me, he continues. Look, it seems like someone has been living there, Nicki says. A couch, candles, even a desk, Nicki says, looking around. Stay alert, Crowley says. They find an inoperable subway car up ahead and proceed to investigate. Suddenly, a vamp jumps out. Nicki quickly pulls out her stake. It was different. It extended to pierce vamps from a distance. It came in handy most times because she was considerably smaller than most of her opponents. She could also use it for so much more. This vampire looks different, more vicious and monstrous looking. You're an ugly one, Nicki says, positioning the long stake at the vamp's heart. He stood paralyzed, knowing who she was. Where's your nest? Nicki demands. Crowley moves toward Nicki with his crossbow. I'm not telling you anything, the vamp says to Crowley. I believe the young lady asked you a question, Crowley says. Nicki delivers a devastating blow to his abdomen. He grunts and stands back up after a few seconds. Nicki looks at him intensely. "Well?" she asks. The vamp says nothing. But Nicki watches his eyes shift to a half-open door nearby. She could vaguely make out at least 2 young women in that room. Nicki delivers another blow with her stake. She shoves it through his chest and he explodes into dust. "There's a girl in there, Crowley," Nicki says, racing toward the room where she's seen the girls. "Nicki, wait," Crowley says. Suddenly he's grabbed from the back by another vamp. Nicki charges into the room. It looked like some sort of huge storage area. She sees the girls, and they surround her. They abruptly change into demons and begin to converge on her. With a powerful spin kick, she sends one of them flying back. The other 2 manage to overpower Nicki and send her to the ground. Without warning, the vamps stop, and both their heads fall to the ground simultaneously. "Gross," Nicki says, pushing herself away. Just as Crowley enters, the 2 bodies burst into dust. The third one scurries away into the darkness. "Good job, Nicki, but you can't charge off like that," Crowley says. Nicki is distracted. She notices a young girl hiding in the dark. The girl briefly waves before disappearing into the darkness again. For some reason, Nicki wasn't scared. She knew whatever killed those monster vamps saved her life. And she knew it was that girl. She just didn't know how. Crowley doesn't notice. "Let's go. I was attacked from behind, which means it's back that way." "I heard a noise," Crowley says, reloading his crossbow. They both rush out of there and find a door with a soft glow of light coming from underneath. Crowley carefully opens the door and finds the room covered in thick, dark vines, spiraling out of a large, deep cave-like hole. The hole emitted a great deal of heat. As the Slayer and her watcher looked down into the pit, they could see no end, and the fiery molten substance coated the walls and vines that grew out of it. It sounded like a howling abyss. They could also hear faint screams coming from deep within. "What is it?" Nicki says. She looks over at Crowley. The look on his face isn't one she's seen before. "Crowley!" Nicki yells. Crowley snaps out of it. "We gotta go. Now," Crowley says. He pulls Nicki along. "Crowley, stop! What is it? You're scaring me," Nicki says. He stops and turns to Nicki. It's a gateway to a hell dimension. A hell mouth," Crowley says. "Now let's go. Let's get you out of here," Crowley says.